Winning is not some magical gift reserved for the chosen few. It's not talent. It's not luck. It's not being born at the right time or in the right place. Winning is something you learn. It's a mindset, a discipline, a daily decision. And the first step in learning how to win is simply deciding that you're not going to stay down when life knocks you flat. Let's be honest, getting up is hard, especially when the world doesn't cheer you on, when your body ache is, your motivation disappears, and your mind tells you it's pointless. But here's the truth. Those are the exact moments when winners are made, not when things are going well, not when it's easy, but when it's painful, uncomfortable, inconvenient, and you still get up anyway. You can't outsource growth. You can't wait for someone to rescue you because no one else is coming. If you want to win, you have to push yourself. You have to create your own momentum. That doesn't mean being aggressive or arrogant. It means being consistent. It means waking up and deciding, I'll do it even when I don't feel like it. Especially then, what's interesting is that the world teaches us to chase rewards, the trophy, the promotion, the recognition. But true winners aren't motivated by external prizes. They're driven by something internal, a commitment to their own standard of excellence. That internal drive is what sustains you long after the applause fades and the excitement dies down. Here's something we don't talk about enough. Growth is supposed to hurt. Not in a damaging way, but in a stretching way. The discomfort you feel in the gym, in your studies, in learning a new skill, those are growing pains. That's your mind and body evolving. So if you're uncomfortable, that's a good sign. It means you're alive. It means you're moving forward. Winners don't wake up with less fear or fewer doubts. They just choose not to listen to those voices they talk back to fear. They remind themselves why they started. And they push through, not perfectly, but persistently. Now ask yourself, what would happen if you stopped negotiating with your excuses? If instead of saying, I'll try, you said, I will. If you stopped waiting for the right time and just made now the right time, you don't need to be perfect. You don't need to be fearless. You just need to be willing. Willing to fail, to stumble, to try again. That's how winning is learned. That's how champions are shaped, not in spotlight moments, but in the quiet, repetitive hours no one sees. So when you fall and you will, don't shame yourself. Don't stay down, get up. Learn from it. Push yourself just a little bit further than yesterday, because every step forward, no matter how small, adds up. And eventually those small pushes will turn into massive wins. You want to win. Then learn how to get up. Learn how to push when it's hard. Learn how to keep going when it's lonely. That's not just how you succeed. That's how you become someone worth being. Many people go through life believing that some individuals are simply born to win, that there's something special in their DNA, some magic gift that the rest of us just don't have. We see top performers, elite athletes, world-changing entrepreneurs, and we assume they were chosen, blessed, or just lucky. But that belief is one of the most limiting ideas a person can carry. The truth is much more empowering. Even if it's harder to accept, winning is not given, it is learned. It's not a privilege, it's a practice. And the difference between someone who consistently wins and someone who consistently doesn't has little to do with talent, and everything to do with behavior, mindset, and discipline. When we talk about learning to win, we're not talking about memorizing a textbook or mastering a theory. We're talking about developing the behaviors and habits that create results. Winning is the outcome of repeated effort. It's a process that gets refined over time through failure, correction, persistence, and emotional intelligence. No one wakes up knowing how to succeed at anything. Even prodigies, no matter how gifted, only stand out because they put in the work behind the scenes. What we often label as natural talent is really the compound effect of small daily actions performed over months, years, and decades. People who win consistently don't wait until they feel like trying. They've trained themselves to act in alignment with their goals, not their moods. That's something you learn, just like a language or a skill. When you first start, it's uncomfortable. It feels awkward. You'll fail, get discouraged, and want to quit. But the people who eventually win aren't the ones who avoided those feelings. They're the ones who walked straight through them and kept going anyway. They made a decision that how they feel in the moment won't dictate what they do. That mindset isn't gifted, it's built. And it starts early, not necessarily in childhood, but the beginning of any meaningful journey. When you decide you want to be better at something, health, business, communication, relationships, you have to unlearn the myth of instant gratification. Winning is slow, it's often invisible. There will be weeks or months when it seems like nothing is happening. But just because you can't see the progress doesn't mean it's not there. The people who win are the ones who trust that the work they put in today will pay off tomorrow, even if there's no proof yet. We live in a world that celebrates results but forgets to show the process. Social media makes it worse, highlighting the wins without the losses, the confidence without the self-doubt, the breakthroughs without the breakdowns. But when you actually study people who succeed in the long run, you see something different. You see failure after failure. You see hours of practice, rehearsals, revisions, and rejection. And most importantly, you see the decision to keep showing up. Not just when it's convenient, but when it's inconvenient, tiring, boring, and even painful. That decision is what teaches you how to win. Another part of learning to win is understanding that no one else can do the work for you. Mentors can guide you, books can inspire you, and encouragement can lift you temporarily. But in the end, No one can build your discipline but you. You have to be the one who trains your mind to push through. You have to be the one who studies your own weaknesses and fixes them. You have to be the one who holds yourself accountable when no one else is watching. That's how you learn to win, not by being told what to do, but by doing it repeatedly until it becomes part of who you are. Winners don't think in terms of entitlement. They think in terms of responsibility. They understand that the world doesn't owe them a chance, a break, or a reward. So instead of waiting to be chosen, they choose themselves. They don't ask, what do I deserve? They ask, what am I willing to work for? That shift in thinking turns the focus inward, which is where all real change begins. So while it may be tempting to believe some people were born to win, the truth is far more inspiring. Every single one of us can learn it. It's not limited to those with perfect backgrounds, high IQs, or elite connections. It's accessible to anyone willing to put in the work, stay consistent, learn from mistakes, and refuse to quit when things get tough. Winning is not a trait, it's a training, and anyone can start the training today. Most people think discipline is about setting goals, making to-do lists, and staying organized. They believe it's a system or a habit, something you do when you have time, motivation, or energy. But that's not where discipline is forged. Discipline isn't built when everything is going right, when you're inspired, excited, or fresh. It's built when everything in you wants to quit, when you're tired, unmotivated, bored, or overwhelmed, and yet you still choose to move forward. That moment when your mind screams to stop and your body begs for rest, but you keep going anyway, that is the moment discipline is born. The challenge with discipline is that it often disguises itself as discomfort. Most people turn away the second something feels hard. They think, maybe I'm not ready, or maybe this isn't for me. That's the trick your mind plays to keep you safe, to protect you from failure, rejection, or pain. But what if that pain isn't there to stop you? What if it's there to shape you? What if those exact moments you want to walk away are the ones where you're learning how to be mentally tough, how to persevere, how to stay committed to something greater than your mood? Because real discipline has nothing to do with how you feel. It has everything to do with what you've decided to become. Every time you make the decision to continue, when quitting is the easier, more comfortable choice, you strengthen a muscle inside you that most people never train. That muscle is your willpower, and like any muscle, it grows under resistance. You don't build it by reading about discipline or planning how disciplined you'll be. You build it by acting, especially when you don't want to. It's in those moments where you hear that inner voice that says, not today. And instead of listening, you say back, yes, today. Especially today, think about the people you admire most, the ones who seem unstoppable, focused, grounded. None of them got there by accident. They had plenty of opportunities to give up, just like you. The difference is they chose not to. Not because it was easy, but because they had decided who they were going to be. And they didn't let temporary discomfort derail that vision. That's the kind of strength that's available to anyone, but most never reach for it because they think discipline is about control. It's not. Discipline is about love. Love for your goals, your purpose, your potential. When you love where you're going enough, you'll suffer a little more to get there. What happens in your weakest moments matters more than what happens in your best. When you're at your best, discipline is easy. But in your worst, when you're discouraged, tired, behind, or afraid, that's where character is tested. That's where you decide whether this journey is serious or just another idea you were playing with. Every time you push through that wall, you're not just making progress, you're becoming someone stronger, more capable, more dependable. You're proving to yourself that you can be trusted with the dreams you say you want. Discipline doesn't always look impressive. It's not flashy, it's quiet. It looks like waking up early when no one sees. It looks like choosing focus over distraction. It looks like saying no when everyone else says yes. Most of all, it looks like continuing, not perfectly, not without failure, but consistently. It's those ordinary choices repeated daily that eventually lead to extraordinary results. You won't feel like doing it every day, but that's exactly the point. The resistance you feel is not a sign that you're weak. It's the signal that you're at the edge of growth. One of the greatest lies we've been taught is that we need to feel ready before we act. But discipline teaches you the opposite. It teaches you that readiness follows action, not the other way around. You act first, you move first, then and only then does momentum follow. So when you feel like giving up, don't see that as failure. See it as the threshold where discipline is made. That's where the transformation begins. If you can learn to lean into that space, to keep going when everything inside you says stop, you'll separate yourself from 99% of the world. Not because you're stronger or smarter, but because you trained your discipline when it mattered most. Progress isn't something that happens by chance. It doesn't come from waiting, hoping, or blaming. It begins the moment you stop pointing fingers and start taking full responsibility for your actions, your habits, and your results. Personal accountability is the foundation of all forward movement. Without it, you stay stuck. Without it, growth is impossible. Accountability means you stop waiting for someone to fix your life and start recognizing that your life is your responsibility, no one else's. When people struggle to make progress, it's often not because they lack intelligence or resources. It's because they haven't yet accepted that the outcomes they see are a reflection of the choices they make. It's easy to blame the system, the timing, the environment, or the people around you. It's easy to say you would have done better if things were different. But real growth starts when you say, no matter what happened to me, I still choose how I respond. I still choose how I move forward. That's the power of accountability. It puts the control back in your hands. It's not about shame. It's about ownership. People who grow, improve, and evolve don't pretend life is perfect. They just take responsibility for how they show up every day. They don't wait for motivation. They create it. They don't wait for a break. They build consistency. And most importantly, they don't blame others when they fall short. Instead, they ask the hard questions. What could I have done better? Where did I hold back? What part of this is mine to fix? These questions don't feel comfortable, but they're the reason some people grow faster than others, because they're not afraid to admit they have work to do, and they're willing to do it. Accountability also means being honest with yourself, even when it's difficult. It means seeing your patterns, your tendencies, and your excuses with clarity. If you're always saying you don't have time, the question is, how are you using your time? If you're always saying you're not lucky, the question is, are you putting yourself in positions where luck can find you? If you say you're not where you want to be, are you willing to change what you're doing to get there? These aren't judgments. They're invitations. Invitations to level up, to be more intentional, to make decisions that align with the future you want. The truth is, no one's going to chase you down and hold you accountable every day. That's your job. That's your role in your own success story. External accountability, bosses, deadlines, mentors, those help. But the real change comes when you become your own standard. When you stop needing someone to check in on you because you've already checked in with yourself. That internal shift is where long-term progress begins. Because the only person who's with you in every decision every morning, every setback, and every opportunity is you. There's freedom and accountability. That may sound strange, but it's true. When you finally stop blaming and start owning, you realize you have more power than you thought. You realize that while you can't control everything, you can control your habits, your attitude, your focus, and your next step. That freedom allows you to stop waiting for the perfect conditions and start building progress in imperfect ones. That's what real winners do. They don't need perfect. They just need ownership. It's important to understand that accountability is not about being hard on yourself. It's about being honest with yourself. There's a difference. Being hard on yourself means you criticize your mistakes and carry guilt. Being honest with yourself means you learn from mistakes and carry responsibility. The goal isn't perfection, it's progress. And progress doesn't come from avoiding failure. It comes from owning it, learning from it, and adjusting your approach. In every area of your life, your health, your mindset, your goals, the question isn't, is someone else helping me enough? The question is, am I helping myself enough? Am I showing up for myself? Am I doing what I said I would do? Am I being the kind of person my future needs me to be? If you can answer those questions truthfully and you're willing to course correct when needed, then progress is inevitable. It might not come fast. It might not look dramatic, but it will come. Because progress is not a gift, it's a result. And the first step toward that result is always accountability. Real growth doesn't happen in comfort zones. It doesn't happen when things are easy, predictable, or pleasant. Growth is born from pressure, challenge, resistance, and friction. If everything around you feels convenient, it's likely because nothing is stretching you. And if nothing is stretching you, then you're probably not growing. Discomfort is not the enemy of progress, it's the requirement. The more you avoid it, the more you delay the version of yourself that you're capable of becoming. Convenience is tempting, it's smooth, familiar, and often celebrated in the modern world. We build routines that protect us from discomfort. We rely on technology to make things easier. We design our lives to avoid effort wherever possible. But what gets easier doesn't always make us better. Just because something saves time or energy doesn't mean it builds resilience or strength. In fact, too much convenience can rob you of the very experiences that are meant to teach you grit, patience, and mental toughness. Every breakthrough in life, whether it's physical, emotional, mental, or spiritual, comes through a period of discomfort. You cannot build strength in the gym without straining your muscles. You cannot improve your mindset without challenging your limiting beliefs. You cannot develop emotional resilience without facing hardship. Discomfort is the classroom where growth is taught. And most people fail to grow, not because they're incapable, but because they keep trying to skip class. There's a difference between pain that destroys and pain that transforms. Growth-oriented discomfort is the latter. It's the kind that comes from doing something hard, uncertain, or new. It's the kind of pain that signals progress, not punishment. But to benefit from it, you have to stay in it long enough to learn. Most people retreat at the first sign of struggle. They misinterpret the resistance as a red light when in fact it's a green light. It means you've entered the zone where something new is possible. The danger of chasing comfort is that it convinces you that everything is fine, even when it's not. It lulls you into complacency. You start accepting mediocrity because it's easier than facing discomfort. But growth never comes from ease. It comes from effort. It comes from choosing the uphill path when the downhill one is right there. And while that uphill path may cost you more in the short term, more energy, more stress, more focus, it rewards you in ways the easier path never could. You can't be both deeply comfortable and radically transformed. You have to pick one. Transformation requires tension. It asks you to give up what feels good now for what will serve you better later. It demands sacrifice, not just of time or resources, but of who you used to be. Growth means you outgrow things, old habits, old beliefs, old environments. And that process can feel uncomfortable because it disrupts what's familiar. But that discomfort is evidence that you're evolving. We often admire people who are disciplined, strong, and accomplish, but we rarely think about what they had to endure to get there. They had to sit with their discomfort. They had to embrace difficult conversations, make unpopular decisions, do the hard work when no one was watching. And they did it not because they were fearless, but because they understood that fear and discomfort were part of the process. They didn't run from the discomfort. They learned from it, worked through it, and let it sharpen them. The truth is, the version of you that you want to become is hiding behind the uncomfortable decisions you keep avoiding. You want more confidence, you'll find it in discomfort. You want more discipline. It lives in discomfort. You want more clarity, strength, purpose. They are all buried inside the moments that make you sweat, struggle, doubt, and dig deep. Growth is not a moment. It's a daily commitment to doing the hard things, not just once, but again and again, until what was once hard becomes your new normal. There is no shortcut around this. You can't grow by wishing it, planning it, or watching others do it. You have to feel it. You have to lean into the tension of becoming. You have to stay present in the stretch. That's where the change happens, not when you're calm and comfortable, but when everything inside you says, I can't, and you still take one more step. That step might be small, it might be messy, but it will move you forward in a way that comfort never will. One of the greatest misunderstandings people carry is the idea that life is a race against others. That progress is about outperforming the person next to you. That success is about having more than your peers, and that self-worth is tied to how you compare to the crowd. This mindset creates pressure, insecurity, and constant dissatisfaction. Because no matter how far you go, someone else will always appear ahead. But when you realize that your only true competition is who you were yesterday, you unlock a healthier, more sustainable path to growth. You stop chasing people and start building yourself. The truth is, life becomes more meaningful the moment you shift your focus inward. It's not about being better than anyone else. It's about being better than you used to be. The only person you need to beat is the version of you who settled, who procrastinated, who doubted, who gave up too early. Every day gives you a new chance to face that person and to choose differently. That's real competition. That's where growth begins, not in outpacing someone else's timeline, but in refusing to repeat your own excuses. When you view yourself as your primary competition, your mindset changes completely. Instead of being jealous of someone else's progress, you start asking yourself how you can close the gap between who you are and who you want to be. You stop wasting energy comparing your chapter 3 to someone else's chapter 20. You stop focusing on their wins and start working on your own habits. That shift takes courage because it forces you to confront your truth. It asks you to take ownership of the ways you've held yourself back. But it also empowers you because it puts the power for change back in your hands. What's more, once you realize you're your only competition, you also begin to see yourself as your greatest ally. That means showing up for yourself, not just when it's easy or fun, but when it's hard and inconvenient. It means encouraging yourself instead of tearing yourself down. It means becoming the voice that pushes you forward, not the one that pulls you back. You can't grow if you're constantly fighting yourself internally. You need to become the kind of person you can rely on, not just to set goals, but to follow through on them. That's why self-awareness is so critical. You can't compete with yourself if you don't know where you stand. You need to know your patterns, your triggers, your tendencies, your strengths, and your weaknesses. You need to know when you're making progress and when you're making excuses. This kind of self-honesty doesn't come naturally to most people because it's uncomfortable. But discomfort is part of growth. The more clearly you see yourself, the more effectively you can improve. That's how you become your own coach, your own motivator, your own accountability system. It's important to understand that treating yourself as your only competition doesn't mean you live in isolation. It doesn't mean you can't learn from others or celebrate their success. In fact, it frees you to do that more fully because you no longer see other people's success as a threat. You stop comparing and start connecting. You appreciate others for what they bring while staying grounded in your own journey. That's a powerful place to be, not intimidated by greatness, but inspired by it. Progress is personal. No one else knows your starting point. No one else knows your internal battles. That's why external competition is misleading. It's based on visible outcomes, not invisible effort. But you know your story. You know how hard you've worked, how far you've come, and how much you've overcome. So when you look in the mirror, that's your real scoreboard. Are you showing up more consistently than you did last month? Are you thinking more clearly than you did last year? Are you more disciplined than you were yesterday? Those are the metrics that matter. There will be days when you stumble, when your past self seems to have the upper hand. That's okay. It's not about being perfect. It's about being persistent. The real win is in continuing to compete, to push, to evolve. Every time you choose discipline over distraction, effort over ease, courage over comfort, you win. Not against someone else, but against the version of you that wanted to stay the same. You don't need to look around to find your competition. Just look in the mirror. And remember, that person is not just who you're trying to beat. It's also who you're trying to build. Be firm with your flaws, but kind to your growth. Challenge yourself daily, but never forget that the person you're becoming is on your side. You are your own competition, yes, but you are also your greatest ally. And when those two forces align, there's nothing you can't become. At the core of every victory, big or small, is the decision to keep going when it would have been easier to quit. Learning to win isn't about mastering one grand moment. It's about how you handle the quiet, difficult, often invisible moments that test your patience, your consistency, and your belief in yourself. Those are the moments that build you, that shape you, that define your future. You don't need to wait for motivation to appear. You don't need the perfect plan or the right timing. You need a commitment to push yourself, especially when it's hard, especially when no one is watching, especially when progress feels slow. Because that's where your future is being built, in the struggle, in the discomfort, in the decision to rise instead of retreat. Winning isn't a gift, it's a result. And the formula is simpler than most people think. Get up when you fall. Push yourself when you want to coast. Compete only with the person you were yesterday. Hold yourself accountable. Embrace the discomfort of growth. And remember that nobody is coming to do the work for you, because you already have everything you need to do it yourself. The question isn't, can you win? The question is, will you get up and push yourself until you do?